Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve your first million? And today is joining Carl from Sweden, and he's the founder of Resocialize. So Carl, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
That's a wonderful question, Harry. And going from 0 to 1 is one of the hardest things you can do professionally. It's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to be at $1 million in revenue. But these 5, and I'm going to add a 6th one for bonus, are what I'm doing, what I'm looking at. And the first step, you need a clear idea, plan, and most importantly, process. If you're just flailing around doing random things, talking to random people, you might make a couple of sales, but it won't be something that you can scale and repeat and take it all the way. When you've got that, you need to start building genuine relationships and be curious, reach out to people. Don't only look for the short-term wins, but try to understand the problems that they're actually facing and how you solve them. Because when you're going from 0 to 1, at 0, you have this idea that people want to buy a product or that they're facing a certain problem. This journey is all for you to figure out what that idea, what that solution actually looks like. And if you're not listening to people, if you're not curious, if you're not trying to figure out how you can help them, then you'll be pushing a solution that people won't come back and keep buying. And if you want to make it up to $1 million, you need people coming back because it's hard enough to get new sales as it is. You don't need to be fighting a high churn rate. When you've got these things, you know you have your plan and process in place. You know why people want to build, and you're building long-term relationships with people where they come back and say, you know what, now I'm actually ready to buy. Then you need to make it easy for them to buy. The entire sales process, there are so many sales leaders out there that are building a sales process around what the salespeople are doing. Okay, now I'm booking a demo. Now I'm making calls. Now I'm pushing an offer out. Just because you send an offer doesn't mean that somebody's anywhere near buying. Sure, it fits neatly into your process, but it doesn't have anything to do with buying. If you make it easy for people to buy on their time frame and when they're ready for it, that's when you start actually getting business. Because no matter how much urgency, fake urgency you're creating, people see through that right away. When you've got this, you've got a process that aligns with the buyer, start measuring the things that actually matter. And I'm not talking about calls made. I'm not talking about demos booked. Because once again, I can send out demos to anybody. It doesn't mean they're interested. But if I start measuring the things that actually matter, conversations had, prospects in my ICP that understand how my value affects their business, people excited for the opportunity of working together and asking for the proposal, well, that's when we can start measuring actual impact and start going down into the process itself and iterating, refining it, and making it basically a no-brainer for anybody to pick up and go. And when you've got that, when you're measuring the right things, do more of what works. That's when you start being ready to pick on salespeople. That's when you start being ready to scale. That's when you start knowing the process inside and out. And that's when you're ready to take the next step. You've gone from 0 to 1 to 100K. Now we're building for 1 million, and the next step is 10 million. That's when you start looking at these new stages and steps. That's when you start iterating.
Wow.
And I did
the bonus.
I did promise you a bonus. You're right. Do what nobody else is doing, but what everybody understands.
Wow, I love it.
It doesn't help if you're doing something different if nobody gets why that matters. But if everybody instantly understands it and nobody else is doing it, that's where you should be.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, Carl. And let's go into detail, because now you share with me that you are in Sweden, in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees but you building global companies and working with the global company from your desk, from this very desk that you're speaking with me. So, wow, that's amazing how the world has changed. So, tell us why, how you do that, how you're building a tech company, literally, from your lovely place, because I think I've been there in Sweden and it's beautiful, the landscape and everything. But people back in the day, to have a company, you need to have an office, and then you need to see the face of the people, and you need to interact with them. And this is how you grow. And now you have a tech company, yeah, that you're running with the name is Resocialize. So tell us a little bit more how you build that company, and if it's really possible to build a global business from your desk.
So the idea for the company came when me and my wife were working in Ireland at the time with one of the global search engines, where when suddenly the pandemic hit, early 2020, everything shut down. We were locked into our homes, not literally, but there was a very strict lockdown enforced. We all shared variations of this experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't too poorly affected because of our life circumstance at the time, but everybody we knew, everybody we spoke with was miserable. We had the people who'd moved to Ireland, like us, to build life in a new country, who were suddenly locked out of society because they were supposed to stay indoors. We had people starting university who didn't get to make any friends because everything moved online. They didn't get to know anybody. We had friends sharing desks in the same office who'd speak daily, who haven't spoken for months because they didn't have any reason to book meetings with each other. And there were so many people that were miserable in this experience. So we decided to build Resocialize to make that experience better. And the entire concept of Resocialize is that remote work needs to be better. This pandemic, this experience showed us, it proved to us that remote work works pretty well. It proved that we have new challenges with remote work. There are things we need to figure out. We need to learn how to do it. But overall, it worked pretty well. And one of those major challenges is, how do we stay connected? How do we connect professionally? How do we stay engaged? And like you're saying, the old way to run a company was get an office and get everybody in there. And I agree with that. But I don't agree that the office needs to be a physical space. And we created Resocialize to be a virtual office, an online office, a place to have these exact connections, to have this exact experience without everybody being stuck in the same place. So you could have your team spread out over countries, over markets, over continents. It doesn't matter, but you can always stay connected and just walk over to the desk and talk to finance or talk to IT or talk to marketing, because they're at the desk next to you, even if they're working from another continent.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Let me tell you our experience in our company, and this was true story. Yeah, in our first company, we managed to save 5 million. It was a real estate company. One day, you see, well, firstly, one day I arrived to the office and my team told me, Harry, we don't need you anymore. Go home. Yeah. And we can run this company without you, which was something amazing, yeah, because I didn't like to go to the office, yeah, and I literally was not needed. But I'm thinking, I didn't like to go to the office. I go because I had to go, but I didn't like, yeah, and I went to the team regardless that they didn't want me in the office, yeah. I went and asked them, guys, do you really like to come here? And because I don't like it, honestly, to wake up, to take the metro, and then to come here, I particularly don't like it. Do you like? And then I find out that nobody wants to go to the office. I'm telling you, 16 years ago, yeah. And I'm thinking, look, I don't like to go to the office. You guys don't like to go to the office here. Why will everybody work from home? And and then I don't pay for the office. How about that? This is what actually happened, and we have been working here so long like that that when the pandemic came, our team, they were like, it didn't change anything of anything that we were doing before, yeah, because we all were working remote. We managed to use software, I don't know, like Signable, that you can sign the contract, so now you don't need to print the paper and to sign the contract. We find little tools out there that actually we can literally run the company, all the processes remotely, and it was amazing, especially when you having a company, you want the best talent, you want the best people for your company, and sometimes they're not in where you live. Sometimes could be in US, they can be, we have people working with our organization from different countries, because we believe that they're the best in what they do. So it's opened a new window for productivity, a new window for people to find the best talent. Yeah. However, building a tech company is a challenge. So how, and especially the question I want to ask you is the following, because 1 out of 5 people that come to this show, 5 Steps How to Make Your First Million Unstoppable, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6, they are either property entrepreneur or they are tech entrepreneurs, and people might have the misconception, right, that wow, if so many tech people and so many property investors are going to Harry's show, it's easy to make a million in in a tech space, or in the real estate. So, and so real, what is, because you shared something very profound, like, if you have a product that is so unique and nobody understands, you're not gonna come across. And we always listen the stories like you. We only listen the success stories, but people are failing out there in the highest rate. Some of them they're using all the money they have, remortgaging their houses, and putting all the energy, time, and effort in a product that, because they're not speaking with the client, they're not speaking with the customer, they cannot reshape it, and the company collapse, and it's sad. So what is the message that you have for tech entrepreneurs out there that they are suffering at the moment?
So, apart from founding and leading and working with Resocialize, I also do freelance work where I help founders, both tech and sales founders,
Excellent.
take this step from 0 to 1. And
wow, amazing.
That's an excellent question, because it's so easy to just look at the people who succeed and say, I want to do that, and not realize how much luck might be involved. We don't like to talk about that, but it's huge. You can do all the right things and still, for whatever reason, not succeed.
Absolutely.
How many times they've pivoted, what they've changed along the way, what they've struggled with. There's so many obstacles, and we learn so much more from our failures than we do from success.
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy to attribute success to, I was so great, of course I would succeed, and I worked so hard. Yeah, well, everybody else worked hard as well, and they didn't.
Exactly.
So
it's not
what's
that.
the difference here? And there are 2 parts that I would like to bring out to early stage founders looking at taking the step from 0 to 1, which, once again, is the most challenging thing you'll ever do. Growing from 1 to 1 million is much easier than going from 0 to 1. Going from 1 to 1 million it's not easy anyway, but 0 to 1, there's so much respect to be earned there.
Absolutely.
And the first is to look at the competitive landscape. People are afraid of competition. They shouldn't be. Competition is great. We want competition, because if there is competition out there, it means you're not alone trying to tell people why they should be interested in your field at all. Resocialize is not my first venture. I've tried to start 2 other companies, both miserable failures. One of them was in the beverage industry, and one of them was...
Wow, the beverage, that's hard.
It's very hard. It's very tough.
My God.
And the second was also in the beverage industry, but in the events, with an events focus. And none of those took off. It was a lot of hard work, didn't get him off the ground at all. So Just hard work won't do it. Starting Resocialize, we went into a new niche that has never existed before. Something people don't have any idea of. And we still are unique in that. There's like one other company or two other companies that can do what we can do worldwide. And that's including Meta.
That's amazing.
And you'd think that's an advantage, right? It's not. It's terrible, because suddenly I'm here as a nobody saying, hey, you guys should listen to me and buy my solution to a problem that I'm telling you that you have. Nobody wants to hear that.
Absolutely.
So if you're going into a pure blue ocean, an empty sea where it's just opportunity, then you're going to need to fight so hard to educate people about why they should even care about you to begin with. And that's such a long journey.
And expensive.
There's so much struggling in that. While if you go into a red ocean, an ocean full with other players, competitive, they're fighting, the sea is red with blood, the buyers know why they should be interested in your niche whatsoever. People know why they would be interested in buying a bottle of wine. It's a red ocean, but you don't need to tell people, hey, wine's the best thing since...
They already know.
Yeah, they already know it.
It's about getting market share.
So don't be afraid of competition. But the strategy is very different when you're going into a red ocean compared to when you're going into blue ocean. One is not better or worse than the other, but don't let that competition scare you. And the second piece of advice is don't do it alone. Especially if you're going into tech, you need one co-founder that... I speak with co-founders who come from one end of these two sides almost weekly. And there's either the tech founder who's built their thing and they brought somebody in to sell it and to market it, and they just cost a bunch of money and they didn't do the right things, and there are no sales, and now money's running out and they have nothing to show for it. Or it's the business founder who says, I've got this brilliant idea. People are going to love this. I've got so many customers lined up. I just need to outsource tech and get somebody to build this. And they don't understand the building process, and they spend a bunch of money, and the final product is nowhere near what they have been promising. And both of these are actually the same problem. It's both of these fields are very high skill. You need to be good at that specific field. And it's easy when you are good at that specific field to underestimate the challenges on the other side of it. So you need somebody to, if you're good at one of these two things, you need somebody that you trust completely. There can be no doubt in that relationship whatsoever that has the other side of it that balances you out. Because it's easy to think getting clients is like building a table. Just get some wood, measure it, cut it up, nail it together, and you got a table and it's running. Or that building software is the same thing. Just nail it together and it's running. And it's not. None of those two things are. It's much longer, more complex process. So you need to respect that and be aware of it and have somebody that complements your skill set who you trust completely.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done.
And then, Carl, there is in the tech space, we find that because these two people, these two characters, these two co-founders that you're talking about, right? One is the tech person, okay, which is someone that will be in charge of developing the product, developing the solution for that, yeah. But then you have the other co-founder, which is the person that is gonna go there and talk to clients and market the product and go out and sell the product, yeah. And sometimes it's a lot of friction between the product side and the people that need to go out and market it. And in your opinion, how important are these two elements? Are the 50% the product development as 50% important as the marketing and sales, or the product development is 30 or 20% and the 80% should be go out there and sell it? How you because sometimes usually if you don't go out and sell it, you don't have anything, yeah. But in your experience, because also the product has to be good, like you said, if the product is not good, it's not gonna go out and sell. So what would be this proportion that based in your experience, this magic proportion, and who should be listened to who, and in what proportion when you're going from 0 to 1?
So that question has different answers at the different stages of
I agree
building.
with you. Yeah.
If you are to answer
different answers of all the stages.
If you are to give one sort of high-level answer, it's 50-50. And who should make the decision? Well, get a third co-founder on board.
Oh, wow, that's a great way. I love it. Amazing.
So suddenly you're 3 people, and if it doesn't make sense, if 2 co-founders say yes and one co-founder says no, well, then you've got a conversation. And if you can't convince all 3, that's a bit of a challenge, but that changes the dynamic between both of these are equally important, because they will have different priorities at different stages, and they'll look at different things.
Yes.
And you need somebody who says, you know what, I say this is what goes. I've heard you, this is what we're doing.
How about funding and time and money?
So
50-50 also?
You can solve any problem with either time or money. It will cost one or of the two, but as a founder, you're making a commitment for the long term. Your ideal state, and I know statistics doesn't back this up, but your ideal state is to make money over time. You're building a business to solve a problem. If you're building a business to make money, money's a byproduct. You need to be solving a problem. If you're not solving a problem, you might make money short term and be able to ditch and run. Sure, you might have made a couple of 100,000. That's not going to be great. That's going to get back and bite you in the end. But if you're building for the long term, then you're solving a problem. You need to be out speaking with clients every day of the process, because revenue is 4 components that are equally important. One of them is obviously sales. You need to be making sales. You need to be talking to clients. Another one is marketing. You need people to understand why they should talk to you. A third one is retention, keeping clients, because it's much easier to, it's really tough to get new clients. So let's make sure we get the most value out of them that we can. And the fourth leg of revenue is product. You need to make sure that you're building the right product. And what does that mean for early stage founders? Well, the salesperson needs to be out talking with prospects as much as possible, and the tech founder needs to be listening to make sure we're building the right things.
Absolutely.
If we're not building the right things, build and then sell is the worst idea out there. Incidentally, that was how we built Resocialize. We built and then we started selling, and it was a huge mistake. But you can go out as a sales founder. Oftentimes, you don't need an app. You don't need an actual technical product. Just go out and see, do people want this? Are people interested in it? Then that app might just be an Excel list. Will you pay for this data Excel list? Then you turn that into a database, and then you turn that into an app. Depending on what type of product you're building, you don't need the product in place to start talking to clients, getting confirmation that you're building the right thing, getting early adopters and beta testers and the feedback that they give you, then taking that and turning that into early revenue. And then you're starting to get to, that's when you're at MVP. Everything before that is pre-MVP. Mm-hmm. So both of those play a very important role, and how that the exact dynamic of it changes over time, but overall 50-50. One is not more important than the other. Absolutely. If you have a product and you have no sales, you have no company. You have a hobby project. Yeah. If you have sales and you have no product, you have no company. You have a scam.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carl, then now let's talk about something that the online space is a market that is growing, right? All the online communication since COVID, yeah, is a really growing market. You talk about a concept about the red ocean, yeah, and sometimes people exactly they are afraid of competition, but if there's somebody that well there is there's a lot of companies that do that connect online. There is Zoom, there is Facebook, there is this one and that, yeah. uh, do you really want to go to the market to this business? And the answer is yes, because if there's so many companies doing it, there is one giving you a clue that there is demand for it. If all these companies are doing this, they're not. There is a demand for it. Yeah, it's like when my girlfriend, she owns a book publishing company, and a lot of people go there and say, "Well, I don't want to publish a book about coaching because there is a lot of books out there about coaching." And we tell them, "Look, there is a lot of book about that. This is a clue. They are there because there is demand for it. Otherwise, it won't be. Somebody's buying. Otherwise, it won't be there in the so." I think I really see a big future for your company because I'm aware that it's a growing market and it's gonna keep growing and growing, and it's a lot of potential in terms of education, in terms of training for the companies, yeah. And with technology, you can have something a tool that specialize that serve a particular niche, and this is all what you don't need to take the whole market. You have to just understand your customers, yeah, and serve particularly that niche, and this is how you can differentiate. So, but then, Carl, it seems to be heavy for you starting, and wow, you're gonna compete with this Facebook and this Zoom and all these multi-million pound company from scratch. Um, so were you scared when you started to resocialize? Or you knew that wow, the demand for this, the market for this thing is gonna grow huge, in a huge proportion. If I can take a tiny share of the market, I would be okay. So it takes courage and be brave to start a tech company competing with those existing giants. But there you are alive, and you are building your company to see in that space. So tell us about your mindset. Yeah.
So that's
Did anyone told you that you're crazy?
all the time, all the time. And that's a really funny story, but we've had so many reasons to keep going because we've got a couple of North Star values that have guided us through the entire process.
Wow.
And one of them is it needs to be easy to use this product.
Absolutely.
Once again, make it easy to buy, make it easy to use.
Yeah,
they go hand in hand.
Experience.
User experience. And that led us to make probably the worst and the best business decision we could have ever made. And we made it for all the wrong reasons, but I'm very, very happy that we did. And our idea was it should never be harder to join a Resocialize event or a meeting than it is to click on a video call. Wow. So it should just be a link and it should work in your browser, like magic. Where other companies like Meta, they want you to put on a big headset, you need to buy that, you need to set it up, you need to use it, and then you need to keep it on all the time and not get seasick. And that's cool and that's fun, but imagine making all those investments and sitting like that 8 hours a day. I don't think that's what people want to do. People want an easy, soft, accessible experience.
And they want to be comfortable.
They want to be comfortable, exactly. We're hardwired.
I'm very comfortable having this interview with you.
I'm happy to hear that. And the second thing that guided us through all this was we should never try to replace actually meeting face-to-face. It's always going to be better to meet face-to-face. But sometimes, like you and me right now, we're in different countries. It's not Absolutely. Feasible. So we need to make, and those two guiding values pointed out that the world of work will get more flexible going forward, but what flexible is needs to be better. And that's the big bet we're making. Now, building was a different story, because the reason nobody builds something that just works in a browser is because it's practically impossible. And that's the reason we are at the very cutting edge. There's nobody else that really does this.
Wow.
Because nobody knew how to do it. We've spoken with so many people that try to do a similar thing, but you need to download and install something, or you need extra software. And when we tell them we can do it in a browser with just a link, they're like, no, that's impossible. That doesn't work.
Wow.
And I've spoken with so many founders who said, oh yeah, we were thinking about doing this, then we realized how hard it would be, so we stopped. And the only reason that we decided that we kept going and kept pushing was that both my CEO, who she's brilliant, she's built half of the code, and my CTO, he's also brilliant, he's built the other half.
Oh.
They're building this together. And that's an entire team. Both of these people had no idea what they were doing when they started. They learned the programming languages specifically for this, specifically to solve this issue.
Result. Wow.
And that's surprisingly powerful. Not realizing how hard this is when you start means you start going, and then you keep going. And then you keep going. It becomes a habit, and you just keep going and keep going and keep going. Suddenly, you've got something that nobody else can do. And
that's amazing.
Did people tell us we're crazy? Yes, everybody. They're like, no, nobody can do this. Yet still here we are.
Yeah, with the story of Spotify is very similar. The guys who were somehow detecting work in a fastest way to download and listen to the track. And this piece of technology was key in actually to move the company forward. Now, the future for the online meetings and online things, in my opinion, is just starting. Yeah, it's just starting to be utilized widely. Yeah. And it has a lot of potential. Like, for example, for me, I want to interview the best entrepreneurs in this planet. So they don't live in London, all of them. Look at you. You're based in Sweden. So if these type of platforms that were not available, then it would be impossible to do what we're doing, which is sharing your amazing content and value to our audience. And we also have a global audience. Now, the thing that we need to understand and to get educated is, like, again, for your company, you want the best people, and you want them to be able to find them and to work with them wherever they are in the world. Now, Carl, there is a big issue with the platforms in terms of security, as you may be aware, with Facebook, with Zoom, with, is a lot of people are worried and they are concerned, yeah, and they have the points that they don't want an external company to be listening and to be maybe hearing confidential information about the company, about the thing. So how you guys are treating this side of the business, which has been a little bit controversial out there, to keep the confidentiality of whatever is shared in that environment where you guys control the data?
So here's the big thing, and this is another North Star metric, and so you couldn't have asked me a better question, and this wasn't scripted or prepared, but I love it. We need a social platform where we can talk that isn't logged, where we can have conversations that are actually genuine. And Zoom calls, I assume they're not logged because it would be a huge breach of privacy if they were. I assume this is a safe channel in that sense and secure. There are always, but for Slack chats and things, there are always logs. So people are a bit more guarded when they communicate in that sense, as opposed to if you're sitting next to somebody and they say something and you know it's gone in that instant. Nobody's recording it. And that's the idea. And the things that we measure are based around how much people are actually talking, but never what's actually being said. And that's the idea of a room like Resocialize, that you should be able to see, you should be able to look around and see, yeah, Harry, it's just you and me. I can actually say this and it's confidential. There's nobody else listening in. And doing that at scale is powerful. That's how you actually build relationships. That's how you get these. And how do we protect that? How do we guard it? I don't want to go into the specific details around it, but before creating Resocialize, our CEO did work information security for some of the major Swedish defense contractors, where information security obviously is a very big thing. So she's taken a couple of learnings from there and brought them and applied them in a way to make sure that communication is safe, because we need a safe way to communicate.
That's a great USP, yeah. That's a great, if someone with that background can put the knowledge and the expertise in the product. Now, is Steve Jobs always said you need to be better than anybody else. You need to only have to be different, right? And maybe that this is a very strong point of differentiation.
And I'd like to point out that I know nothing about information security. So even if I would be able to, even if I wanted to, I won't be able to go into the details around it. But that's the beauty of starting a company. You find people who complement you, who add to your skill set, not just mirror it, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And they can. So when taking the product to market, having these conversations and addressing and sharing your product, yeah, which is like you said before, you have to mix and strangers and talk and tell them what they should buy your product. So what have been your biggest challenge taking your product to market, and how you overcome that challenge?
So before answering that, it's a great question. I'll just go a little bit into go-to-market because every go-to-market process has 3 distinct stages or phases, and they all build on the one previous. And the last stage is channel optimization and figuring out, okay, we've got sales coming in from these areas. Now let's see which channels work well, which don't, why, how do we work with this? In order to be able to do that, you need to have your sales channels in place, and that's the launch. The previous one was post-launch, that's tweaking. Then you've got the launch, where you start getting sales. You go out and say, we're ready, buy our products. That's when you establish the channels. That's when you push most money into marketing, probably. And that's probably when you get the worst return on investment for marketing money as well, because it's all about figuring out how you can then later tweak that going forward in the post-launch. But in order for the launch to be successful, you need a very distinct pre-launch phase. And the pre-launch is all about generating interest. It's all about getting signups and getting people who say, yeah, I'd like to be interested in this. And focusing on the pre-launch, it's such especially if you're in a blue ocean, it's such a long journey. And the most challenging thing we had on that journey was to figure out who is our ideal customer profile, who actually buys our products.
Who's your client?
We had a bunch of different ideas and thoughts. Maybe it's HR leaders who want to keep their team longer. Maybe it's recruiters or people who take care of onboarding of new talent who want to give a sense of, hey, walk around the office with us. Maybe it's marketers who want to run better marketing events. Maybe it's trade show hosts. Maybe it's podcast hosts who want to have an audience listening in real time that you can sort of talk and interact with. Maybe it's internal communications. And all of these had different use cases. And figuring out who of these people we should be focusing on for the early wins was and still is the hardest thing, because it takes so much effort, especially if you need to educate them at the same time. And education is a long process. And you need to tailor your messages for a long period of time to make sure that people actually resonate, and that you start finding who this is. And then you can start talking to those people. And then you can confirm that you're on the right track. And then you can confirm that it's interesting. And that's when you know you're ready to go from pre-launch to launch. And that pre-launch stage, especially in a blue ocean, is so challenging. And that's what you're doing, going from 0 to 1. Because you're doing all this work and you have no money to show for it yet, because you're not ready to sell. Or people don't understand why they would pay for it, or people don't value. And once again, in a blue ocean, people won't have budget for you because nobody knows the problem. People don't even know who's responsible for the budget that they don't have. So getting that...
In tech is hard doing the blue ocean. Almost because you will need a huge amount of resources that the investor is not going to give you, because the investor will arrive and will say, the investor definitely is not going to give you the money, because the investor is going to say, okay, so you want my money to develop products that you don't know if it's going to sell.
Oh yeah, there's
no
no
one will
chance.
give you money like that, correct?
We spent the first 12 to 18 months trying to get an investor on board, and we realized all that time and effort that we spent hunting investors is gone. We're not getting that time back.
Absolutely.
And everybody says, come back when you've done more, but when I've done more, I won't need an investment. So we end up scrapping that strategy for the short term in favor of bootstrapping, because that gave us a better return on our time investment. And like I said earlier, yes, it takes a lot of investment, and that investment can be either money or it can be time. Mm-hmm. And bootstrapping, we skew heavily towards a time investment, which is good, because when you throw money at a problem, bringing in consultants and bringing people in to help you build, which is why the solo founder is so hard, because then you need to bring an agency in to do marketing or to do the building in tech. Agencies don't solve a competence problem. They don't solve a knowledge problem. They solve a bandwidth problem. If you feel that I'm not able to do enough with the time I have, I'm doing the right things, but I need to do more of them faster, then you can bring in an agency. If you feel I should be doing something else, but I don't know that field well enough, and you bring in an agency, it's going to cost you so much money, and you're not going to be satisfied with the results.
Yeah, and in the end of the day, it's all about, Carl, like we have to, and you talk about pivoting the product, yeah? The more we are out there talking to people, showing our solution, listening what they are saying, and actually pivot it. You said something very curious. They say, well, we built first, and after we try to sell it, and that was a big mistake. I understand that what you're trying to say is that, okay, it was maybe we were maybe better off put a little bit less in the developing the tool, and actually take these resources, time and money, to actually go and talk to people, so they give us feedback and we can build it more effectively for exactly what they want. But this is something that it happened to a lot of tech founders. This is something very common, and also in the end of the day, the product how to sell. A lot of people going to say, well, Harry, tech is different. That I invest in tech companies, and a lot of founders, they always come and say, well, Harry, tech is different than the other normal business. And the more I know about tech, the more I realize that it's not different that any other traditional business, like your wine business. Yeah, it's those days that VCs write your check with an idea, those days are gone.
Yeah.
They used to be in the past, is not anymore. So if you don't have a product, like you said, that you can prove that there is demand for it and you have some traction and you have some sales, you won't find any funding in the same way that you don't find any funding for a traditional business if you don't meet this criteria. And this is so tech have changed a lot, Carl, since those times, that that people can write your check just because you have an idea. Now VCs and investors, they did lose a lot of money. They are now more cautious on what type of companies and what type of founders. Like, for example, the fact that you check with me that you have 2 drinks company and you fail, this is a very good news, especially for investors, because the investors, when they come and they see an entrepreneur that this is the first venture, is a huge risk for them. Sometimes they will tell, okay, call me your next idea. Yeah. And some founders don't understand why this guy is telling me, call me my next idea. This is my idea now. Why he's not investing in me now? And he doesn't understand that the VC, what I'm trying to tell them is, you're not an entrepreneur yet. You haven't failed enough yet for me to give you capital. We want someone that have this skill. Being an entrepreneur is a skill. The more you practice, the better you become. I don't know any entrepreneur that haven't failed. Like I say, if I tell you how many companies I'll fail, I will depress you. I don't want you to do that. And how much money I lost, you will start to cry from now. So, but this is what led us to lead the path today. So, Carl, is the people listening to us, number one, they are more interested to talk to you to see how can you help them to the 0 to 1 process, which is something that we cover today a lot. I think you're brilliant. I think you do know what you're talking about. And so how people can find you, how the process work, and also how people can have access to your solution, to Resocialize. I love the name, by the way. It's very good. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. It tells people
and it says what it does in the team. Love it.
Yeah. Resocialize has an open demo environment that's open for anybody. Anybody can try it out. It's always free to use Resocialize. The cost is setting up a private room. So, Harry, if you wanted to set up, if you wanted to join me in Resocialize, that costs you nothing. You just click your link and you're there and you get it working. Once again, make it as easy as possible.
So how we find this link?
Resocialize.net. That's Resocialize with a Z at the end. Or check me out or my co-founder on LinkedIn. I've tailored my LinkedIn to go more towards the I help founders go from 0 to 1. Because LinkedIn is a marketing channel, and if you need to focus on one specific message to be clear and see this is the kind of content you were to expect. But my CEO focuses on remote work. Her name is Emily Hagander, and my name is Carl Wilhelm Hagander. And you can find us both on LinkedIn and follow us, and through there find Resocialize and find the latest trends on growing revenue from 0 to 1 and building a sales process, and how I'm in the middle of unlearning everything I've learned from 19 years selling.
I love that concept. I love this concept of unlearning. Very powerful.
And rebuild a process that works today, because sales is changing and how people buy is changing. That's my type of content. And if you're interested in remote work and studies and research and what's going on in that sense, follow Emily.
Thank you so much, Carl. And with that note, see you guys in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneur like Carl break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Bye, and thank you, Harry.
Pleasure.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.